Hello. So I have a new release of pjsProfileBars which I pushed out to the website yesterday. Just wanted to run through the release notes and cover a few of the changes. There's a few beta options in here as well for the first time. Don't normally push beta options, but it's worth doing in this case, I think. So we'll just jump into it and run through these. Mostly just the ads. I will skip through the fixes if there are any. Multiple candle support in the data grid for new metrics. That's this portion here. You can see the previous option was the delta candle only. This is now, we've added support so that multiple candles can be displayed for various different metrics as well as delta. So, for instance, here is mentioned a new metric, which is pace of tape, which is just how fast the market is actually moving. There are some other metrics that you can display as candles as well now. It's quite nice because you will get multiple candles next to each other with the shading. The idea being, two green candles is better than one green candle. A red and a green would give you pause for thought, and so on. Again, sticking with the visuals really. Block trade chart display options. We've always detected the block trades. There is the option now to add block trade circles on the chart where block trades are detected. It's also adaptive because one of the issues with the majority of indies, including the default NT ones, is when you get large amounts of activity, such as at the open or around news events, you'll just get a splatter of large block trade markers. They're largely irrelevant because you expect the block trades around those sort of times. pjsProfileBars is stuck with its everything is relative idea, and those block trades are scaled in terms of the size of the markers and whether they display or not, based on all the other block trades that have gone off around it. So that mitigates to a great amount the sort of activity you get around those events. It's been working well for me in test, but please do try it and let me know what you think. Show block trades to quick. Yeah, again, you can just click on the indicator, right click, and toggle the block trades on or off. There's the option there. What else do we have? Some fixes, a performance debug option. Yeah, that was me obsessing over performance of the indicator as usual. What I did was add an option in the performance section. Where are we? There we go. Show debug info. What that does, we'll paint some text down in the corner here. Gives you some statistics about how the indicator is actually performing within NT. Most of the issues are going to be more down to NT and data feeds than this indicator, but it does give you the ability to see what the CPU usage of the machine is, and various statistics about the chart you've currently got on display, live render times, average render times, how long it takes to render the data grid, how long it takes the on-bar updates and market data updates to run, and so on. At least that way, during extreme volatility and so on, you'll be able to see the effect of that, and also turning on and off different options, adding different indicators to your chart, and so on. You'll be able to monitor. This is not really intended to be left there all the time. It's something for us to be able to judge performance. So you may find it useful when you're tweaking settings and so on. We will certainly find it very useful in running performance tests and judging the impact of turning on and off different options and adding new code and so on. Custom chart marker colors, yeah, those are for the algo bar conditions. Virtual machine, it's a bit slow. If you have custom algo bar conditions set, you can now various new options. You can have or different audio alerts. You can change the color of the chart markers now, which you couldn't do before. There is also an option, and this doesn't work in the trial versions, this will only work in fully registered versions for a few reasons, but you can in fact also have this linked with the Algo Helper menu buttons to put your own custom conditions to trigger trades. It's not full automation, it's semi-automation, i.e. your criteria for an entry are met and you want the trade to automatically go in on your chart. So it's another new addition. Yeah, that's just a cosmetic thing on time and sales. Various display improvements. Yeah, in the custom chart markers, it's now possible to have multi-line labels because the new line symbol is supported. Custom algo bar audio alerts, we've just done that. Yeah, auto trade on trigger of custom bar algo bar conditions, we've covered that. VPOC, a new variable which can be used within algo bars variables. So for instance, you might want to say the current price is above the VPOC of the bar as part of your entry condition or exit condition. The full list of supported conditions should always be in the documentation. Fix there, we covered that. Filter values lower than. This option was actually a request. This enables you to set a value, and when drawing the profile there may be some numbers that you consider irrelevant and you just don't even want to see them. So if you're in delta view or volume view and you set a value of 100, then the profile bar won't even actually be drawn if there's only 100 contracts or less at that level. It's just a way of seeing the more significant numbers a bit more cleanly. Fix, custom bar, yeah, that was just enable you to change from the default colors, which some people had trouble reading on different colored chart backgrounds. Time and sales power meter height, another request. All that did was change the enable you to change the power meter when it was displayed on time and sales to a much larger height, just to make it easier to see if you use that option. The new order flow sounds are something you can probably hear clicking away in the background. What that does, I'll show you the options. It's under the order flow sounds group. There we go. So if you have the order flow sounds enabled, we used to have the option for alerts up and down sounds on different size delta change. That actually worked quite well, but what you have now is a base frequency, a size divisor, and a duration and a min interval. Sounds a bit complicated, but what it does, your base frequency is your base sound, if you like. Your size divisor, you'll have to play with that. What it does, it takes the inbound trade size and is divided by that number, and that number alters the frequency up or down of the sound depending on if it's a buy or a sell, and then that sound is played for the duration. And again, affecting the duration will affect the sort of whether it's a tiny pip or a long boop. You will have to play with these numbers to find something that you like. But the idea is the larger the trade comes in, the more the base frequency sound is changed. Large cells will be below the base frequency, so lower tones, and large purchases will be higher frequencies, so much higher pitch. And it does take your ear a little while to connect with your brain and sort of absorb that, but it's after having it on for a while, you will be away from the desk and you will hear something and you'll instantly know what is going on. It's a bit spooky, but this is a test attempt at building something a bit more comprehensive than just up and down a certain amount of delta with specific sounds. So please have a play with it if that's your thing, and let me know what you think. Again, the use tones option has to be on for that the tone part to actually work. And here's a big one, the beta part of this release, level 2 features. Some actually very interesting bits in here for trading short-term order flow, at least. I don't normally release beta code, but this is a fairly significant amount of code. It is detached from the existing product, if you know what I mean. So although that portion of it I'm going to consider beta for now, just to get user feedback, everything, it won't affect the operation of anything else. So to enable that, sorry, let me find the options. Level 2, there we go. So you need to enable market depth monitoring. Now you have a number of maximum levels up or down to monitor. That will in part vary depending on your market data subscription. I have to add, if you don't have a level 2 market data subscription, this will do nothing. Typically you do need to pay a small extra fee on top of your market data to get that, and different market data subscriptions also have different numbers of levels. You might only get 10 levels in some subscriptions, you might get everything, the whole book in others. Obviously the more levels you process, the more CPU intensive it is. So I wouldn't go putting 500 levels, it's a bit irrelevant anyway in short-term trading. But part of that is you can alter these levels and monitor your performance, just to make sure you're not having sort of too much of an adverse effect. So the max levels up or down to monitor will be the amount of level 2 monitors we actually look at and calculate the bid and ask volumes for. The max amount of levels here will be, sorry, let me just expand that a little bit. For pulling and stacking, this is one of the big new features for level 2, which I've been finding very useful. So what the pulling and stacking does, it's something pulled from mainly how we used to trade the DOM. I don't really trade the DOM anymore, but pulling and stacking, if you're not familiar with how that works, with Delta, for instance, you are seeing, let me just cancel that, you are seeing the traded volume on the aggressor side. So large red delta will be large aggressive sell volume, large green delta will be large aggressive buy volume, and that's actually traded volume. Those trades have happened, so you know they're real. The other part of this with level 2 is when you see things like absorption. You may say here there's large negative delta, and the negative delta keeps rising and rising and rising, and yet we're not actually going down. That's obviously something most of us tend to look for, but you have to wait for the volume to be traded and see it happening. The pulling and stacking, what that does is it gives you a delta, but it's not based on traded volume. It is based on the orders being added above or below the current price in the book. So if people are placing limit orders somewhat below the current price, and they keep adding and adding and adding, basically saying, if price comes back here, we want our order to be executed, that will force the stacking delta positively green. If people are stacking orders up here red, as you can see here in this display, which I'll mention in a minute in a bit more detail, but there's a bit more red here. Basically the book is weighted to the upside, so there needs to be considerably more up volume to eat through these orders, assuming these orders actually don't get pulled, because what you may see sometimes is a large order here, people think somebody really wants to sell, and price gets back up towards there, and that order just disappears. That's how the pulling and stacking really differs from delta. If that order was here, you would see stacking red like this. So see somebody just actually put an order in here and the stacking pushed up. So we have a imbalance on the sell side, not necessarily delta, but somebody showing perhaps an intention to sell. And I think maybe that order just actually got pulled. So if you see the bar went green again, because if you pull an order from the sell side, you lose that sell side liquidity and perhaps become more imbalanced to the buy side again. So the pulling and stacking is the addition and removal of orders from the sell and buy side, and then the sum of all of that is expressed in the bar next to the delta. So what you're really looking for in a down move, traditionally we're looking for negative delta, but that's delta that's already been executed. If you have pulling and stacking negative next to that also, it's kind of a good thing, because it means not only are people aggressively selling into support or whatever, but people are proactively adding orders behind that on the sell side to try and get filled on the sell side. That obviously means if we start to come up, we're running into additional supply. So ideally on the downside you want to see red, red, or on the upside obviously green, green. Like here, somebody is, this probably not within the amount of levels we selected to be counted, but somebody's added large orders here on the buy side. So you want to see positive delta, which means people are actively buying, and positive stacking on the buy side, which means not only people aggressively buying, but people aggressively adding below the current price to try and buy on any pullback. Kind of double support or double supply, if you see what I mean. The other level 2 feature is this here, which is a real-time display of the current level 2 book. So it's basically the number of orders on the bid or on the ask side. And you can set the indent for this and the maximum width in the settings. Just have a quick look at that in case there's anything I need to mention. Pop down to level 2. Yeah, so show market depth histogram, that's this part here. So you have the indent and the max width, which will just, it's all relatively scaled again, so the maximum width will be the larger orders here. There's a couple of other things actually. There's an imbalance percent and enable imbalance monitoring. What that does is show some text above and below the top of these bars, excuse me, just to show you the size of the imbalance. Obviously, if you're looking to be bullish, you really want a significant bid side imbalance. If you're bearish, you're hoping for a significant ask side imbalance, and it just means there's more orders stacked above or below, which hopefully help give you an idea of potential movement in the short term anyway. Is there anything else to mention? I don't think so. I think that is it for now. Hope you like the changes, and please feel free to drop into the Discord and give me your feedback or ask any questions. Thanks.